Well, being a Tuesday, that does mean it is time to talk, of course, with the very, very well-known. We've probably made you famous. I mean, you were famous, but, you know, when you're on the radio...
You've contributed to it.
Well, that's right.
Way.
Exactly. Now, today we are talking about something very interesting, the thyroid.
Yeah, Colin, hi. The thyroid is probably one of the most important glands in the body. Secretes thyroid hormones that play a big role in promoting your metabolism. So you've heard people talk about, I can't lose weight because I've got a slow metabolism.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thyroid that's very much, and the thyroid hormone particularly, it's very much involved in not only weight management, but a whole host of health issues.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I was saying before, it's funny that something, so simple, so to speak, can be the cause of so many dramas, like, losing weight.
Yes.
And of course, as we get older, these things, they don't as function.
And it's become a really common complaint that patients come in with is thyroid problems, and definitely a lot more than when I first started practice 27 years ago.
Why do you think that is? Is it the sign of the times? I mean, I was talking to a dairy farmer last weekend about milk over the years.
Yes.
He's been a dairy farmer for 60 years, and he says, I only drink full cream milk, and I don't drink anything from a bottle. It's straight from the cow. I think that's interesting, isn't it?
How things have changed. Like, with the thyroid, I think there's so many more factors that can interfere with the function these days, and we'll go into some of those as we go. But I think environmental toxins and dietary change, stress is a massive one. So there's lots of reasons why the thyroid, because it's a fairly sensitive tissue as well, fairly sensitive gland, and not supposed to be exposed to all these chemicals. And so the thyroid's a butterfly-shaped gland that sits in the base of your throat here, and it's responsible for producing what's called thyroid hormone. Now, nearly every cell in the body has receptors for thyroid hormone. Like, we've got receptors for thyroid hormone through the brain, kidneys, liver, all your muscles, and it's responsible for determining partially or predominantly determining our metabolic rate, how well we burn calories for fuel. And when we're younger, thyroid's working really well, but there's lots of things that can affect the thyroid function as we get older. And one of the major things that can affect the thyroid, or symptoms of the thyroid's, so the thyroid can go both ways. It can go underactive, which is very common, and I'll talk more about that today. It can also go overactive, though.
Which is interesting with that, isn't it? Because not a lot of things will work too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an autoimmune condition called Graves' disease, and that's where the immune system becomes confused and starts to attack the thyroid and actually makes it produce more thyroid hormone. So people with an overactive thyroid often end up with that bit of a goiter, that swelling around the throat. And they're producing more thyroid hormone, so they get symptoms like weight loss, anxiety, hot flushes, sweats, headaches, tension headaches all the time. So there's lots of symptoms of an overactive thyroid, and again, getting assessed is the way to go. But, it can be autoimmune, can be what are called adenomas or cysts can form in the thyroid that become hot and produce thyroid hormone. So
is that just with a blood test, Pete?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really easy. Thyroid's really easy to understand, but we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment, but it's often not fully tested properly when you see a GP. So underactive thyroid is probably more common. The most common cause for an underactive thyroid is autoimmune disease, or what's called Hashimoto's disease. And that's where the immune system, again, is attacking the thyroid, but it's causing the thyroid to decrease its production of these thyroid hormones. So that's when you get symptoms like, decreased tolerance to cold. Because your metabolism slows down, you feel the cold more. You might lose hair. You lose the outer third of your eyebrow. Definitely difficulty losing weight, where you've always been able to lose weight, but now you can't. Sluggish bowel, constipation, brain fog, poor memory, poor concentration, because again, there's a lot of thyroid receptors in the brain, thyroid hormone receptors, and if there's not enough hormone being produced, the brain can't function properly. So it's a really common symptom.
And I suppose we probably look over this sort of stuff in a way, don't we? We think, it's just, it's one of those
just
things.
Run down, I'm a bit
tired. Yeah. Where, in fact, it could be something serious.
Absolutely. And even symptoms like depression as well, low mood, feeling the cold more, gaining weight around the tummy, All of these symptoms can be, classified, and you might see a GP and they say, look, I think you're depressed, we'll prescribe an antidepressant, and it might actually be an underfunctioning thyroid.
Right.
So definitely worthwhile getting it tested properly.
Okay. Now, we've discussed, of course, so overactive, underactive. See, I find this all very interesting because I find that, something that, let's say it is in your throat, can affect so many things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Weight loss, depression.
Yep.
You think, wow,
Yep.
it's
such an important hormone. The things which can cause it to become out of whack. So Hashimoto's, let's talk about underactive. Hashimoto's like autoimmune, immune system attacks the thyroid. Thyroid can't produce enough thyroid hormone. The medical treatment generally is just to prescribe synthetic thyroid hormone.
Right.
Which is fine. It gets the levels up, but it doesn't always get people feeling better. That's the unfortunate thing. A lot of patients I see have underactive thyroid, say particularly Hashimoto's, but oftentimes they've got really high antibody levels that are never addressed. The only thing addressed is your actual level of thyroid hormone. So synthetically treating doesn't always make people, like oftentimes if someone's got an underactive thyroid and it's treated successfully, you should feel dramatically better.
Right.
But unfortunately, and we'll come back and talk about that after the break, unfortunately that's not always the case, because there's other factors that may be involved as well. So we'll talk about that. Well, with thyroid, and this is such a common thing, like someone will be told, yes, your thyroid appears to be, or your thyroid is underfunctioning, it's not producing enough thyroid hormone, and that's why you're feeling so terrible. But then a person's, often prescribed one of these synthetic forms of thyroid hormone, and they actually don't feel any better. And this can be for a number of reasons. Number one, the thyroid might not have been their total problem. There could be other things going on. But when we're prescribed thyroid, the most common thyroid hormone is synthetic T4. Now, T4 is the thyroid hormone predominantly produced by the thyroid, but T4 needs to go then via the liver, via the bloodstream, predominantly to the liver, where T4 then gets converted to the active form of T3. So you can be taking a thyroid hormone, but your conversion might not be happening properly. So this can be due to nutritional deficiency. So if you're taking synthetic hormone, you also always need to get your T3 tested to see what your conversion's like, because it's the T3 that's going to make you feel better.
So instead of eating, instead of taking something, we could be eating things like mushrooms that
provide
that.
Nutritionally, there's lots of things we can be doing.
Right.
But the major nutrients for starters is, to make thyroid hormone, we need iodine and tyrosine, which is an amino acid. To convert T4 to the active form of T3, you need to make sure that you've got plenty of zinc and selenium, because these are both used in the liver to convert T4 to T3. And then we also need adequate levels of vitamin D, which so many of my patients are coming back low in, as well as ferritin or stored iron, for the actual thyroid hormone to activate the metabolism inside the cell itself.
Okay,
So
right.
nutritional deficiencies can be a big factor. Other things that can interfere with the conversion of T4 to T3, alcohol, cigarettes, toxins from our environment again. One of the big things that can interfere with thyroid hormone, even if we're producing enough from acting properly, is excess what are called halides. Halides are compounds or elements like chlorine. So chlorine, too much chlorine in the body, chlorine binds to the receptor sites that the thyroid hormone needs to bind to. So if you're drinking a lot of water, but it's just straight tap water that has high levels of chlorine, if you're swimming in pools a lot, you need to make sure that your iodine levels are sufficient to stop the chlorine from interfering with the hormone. The other thing that can happen is that, so as I said, your thyroid produces T4, goes to the liver, ideally gets converted to T3, which is your active thyroid hormone. And this is whether your thyroid's working or whether you're taking synthetic T4, you still need it to convert. The other thing that can happen, though, is you can be taking T4, goes to the liver, and instead of getting converted to T3, it can get converted to what's called reverse T3. Unfortunately, reverse T3 is an inactive form of thyroid hormone. So you can be taking the thyroid T4, but it's getting converted to T3. And the reasons for this include stress, infections, toxicity, all the things we've talked about. So as I said, and the other thing, so you can be taking synthetic hormone, and the reason you're not feeling any better is because it's not converting to the T3.
Right.
It's being converted to reverse T3. or another reason I suspect why people aren't feeling better when they start on thyroid medication is that they've got very high levels of antibodies being produced against their thyroid. And I think this antibody load is also creating a lot of the symptoms they're experiencing as well. So you need to treat the autoimmunity as well as supporting the thyroid function, not just taking thyroid hormone.
Some of the beneficial foods that we can be eating, and look, we can all eat better. Of course, I started with you a few months ago now, which has improved my eating habits, I must say. You say here's seaweed.
Yeah, iodine is a really essential component of the thyroid hormone. You know, back in the 60s or 70s, Rob probably wasn't even born back then.
Well, I wasn't born.
Oh, you weren't born either? Oh, well, I wasn't either. I wasn't born until 1965.
People are saying, who's Rob? He's our panel operator. We've come up in the world.
It's nice having someone do all those jobs for you.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's very nice indeed.
So anyway, so you and Rob obviously weren't born in the 60s, maybe not even the 70s. Anyway, back in maybe the 70s, there was this push to add iodine to everybody's salt because everyone was chronically iodine deficient. And iodine's the most important mineral needed to produce thyroid hormone. So iodine deficiency is quite common. So a good source of iodine then is seaweed and seaweed type products. That's your sushi.
I know it's
like
healthy
your,
for you.
Seaweed wraps.
Look,
and
Mel's, it's her birthday today, she has sushi probably 3 times a week, I would
she'll
think.
probably have good iodine levels.
Yeah, but I can't comprehend eating seaweed. It's gross. Rob, do you like it?
Seaweed's not that bad when you think about it. It's not that bad.
No, he's liking it.
It's a vegetable.
Turn
Colin.
that microphone off. You're not
It's a sea
involved.
vegetable.
Look, please, I've been doing this a long time. Don't tell me that there is no such town as Penny Beach.
Well, it's actually been recently added to the Lake Macquarie
Correct.
city area. I didn't realise that. I wasn't double checking you, but I just never heard of it before.
Although you were. You see, didn't he say to me, Rob, there's no such thing as Penny Beach? Now, come on.
I do apologise to anyone that actually lives at Penny Beach. It looks beautiful on
on Google.
when I had a quick Google there.
Yeah, it's nice. Maybe we'll go for a drive there one day and I'll show you where Penny Beach is. Back to the important topics today. We're talking about, of course, the thyroid. Some of the beneficial foods, we just spoke about seaweed is a fantastic beneficial food for your thyroid. Mushrooms, Pete. I love mushrooms.
Well, it's the button mushroom particularly, and mushrooms are one of the original superfoods. From my point of view, but it's actually the button mushroom is actually one of the best natural sources of selenium, and we need selenium. Selenium does 2 things. It's one of our 3 things. It's one of our major antioxidants. Selenium helps in the conversion of T4 to T3 in the liver, in the presence of a part of an enzyme called. Anyway, I won't pronounce that. I haven't got enough time to pronounce all that big long word. The other thing it does is I've had great results with selenium actually helping to turn down antibody levels as well. So button mushrooms, Brazil nuts are another great nut, and 3 Brazil nuts a day gives you a healthy dose of selenium, powerful antioxidant and thyroid mineral. So only 3 Brazil nuts every day, packed in with your almonds for your morning tea.
Yeah, beautiful. Pumpkin seeds, Pete.
Pumpkin seeds, you're getting your zinc.
Yep.
And also there'll be a little bit of selenium in there as well. And zinc's the other nutrient that you need, again, for that conversion of T4 to T3. And zinc seems to be one of the things that chronically nearly all of my patients are low in zinc. Low in our soil, being an old country.
Foods to avoid. You've made your thoughts very clear on soy.
Yep. So the main foods, if someone's got an underactive thyroid, there is some information around about definitely you should be steering clear of soy. Soy is called a goitrogen, and it may interfere with either the conversion of T4 to T3 or with the T3 actually binding onto the receptor sites.
Right.
And also what are called the cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli, kale, but that tends to be only in the raw form. So if the cruciferous vegetables are cooked, I don't have such a problem with them as being goitrogens, but unfermented soy, I would definitely be steering clear of if you suspect you've got a thyroid issue.
That's interesting. Well, the thyroid, it's a big topic, and you never quite know if something is wrong. You know, as Pete said, if you might be feeling tired or sluggish or something, it may be more. It could be your thyroid. So you've got to see someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the challenges with thyroid testing is that, you know, generally because of Medicare restrictions, doctors can only test for TSH, which gives you an overview of an overview. It doesn't actually tell you thyroid hormones, and unfortunately the range for TSH is so wide, and TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. The range is so wide that someone could be within the range, but to us a TSH above 2 is already suggesting that their thyroid may be subclinically starting to become under-functioning. So you really need to get your TSH, T4, T3, possibly reverse T3, and even thyroid antibodies done to really get a full idea of what your thyroid's up to.
Now, if you've liked talking about thyroids this afternoon, don't forget tonight Peter has a health talk happening with the natural remedies for thyroid health. Now, that's with David also from your rooms.
Yep.
There's still seats available, which is good. What's the best way they can get to this free
if
event?
people are interested in knowing more about thyroid and thyroid health and what they can be doing naturally, if they get onto our website, and that gives them all the information of how to get a free ticket for tonight's event. And there's also on our website, we've got some great information about blogs, particularly to do with thyroid. We've got recipes to do with thyroid. So a lot of great free information for people there if they really want to check out what's going on.
All right. Now, next week we are talking about detox your skincare on the 18th.
We are talking about that next week.
Jeez, look at me. I'm all over this.
Yeah, it's just a concept that, you know, we talk so much in this show about clean eating. This is just starting to look at, you know, some of the chemicals we actually put onto our skin as well. That if we're making the effort to consciously clean eat, we also need to be making an effort to consciously put things on our skin. For us boys, it's probably a moisturiser.
Well, look, I'll say this, and I'll put my hand up.
Else on your skin?
Well, I'm a very, very skincare type of guy, which sometimes I'm crucified for. But, I mean, I'm the first to put my hand up. I moisturise.
You do?
I put this wrinkle cream on the eyes.
It seems to be working.
Thank you. And I get my eye, but, you know, I like to take care of myself.
Yeah, I think that's important for us.
Look, I'll say this.
Men
when
of
I'm
the
70,
2000s?
well, when I'm 70... I don't want to look 70. See, Mark looks 40 because he is. That's pretty much all we've got time for today. So don't forget you can catch this podcast, this program as a podcast, and also a video so you can see that I really do look my age. Pete, look, you've been doing, you've been a naturopath for a lot of years now. Look, and it's Mel's birthday today. My beautiful mum's made some caramel slice.
Yeah, I've seen that sitting there on that little bit of towel there looking at me.
Now, I want you to take one for the team because everyone says, no, he won't eat it. Pete, I'm just going to drag this over. What I want you to do is I just want you to do this on the video. And people, this is probably the most unhealthiest thing Peter Mullen has eaten in probably 30 years.
For the efforts of, because it's Mel's birthday and because your mother made it, I am happy to take
indulge.
A bite of this caramel slice.
Hear that? Now,
very
how's
nice.
that?
Riley's shaking his head through the window.
Beautiful.
Very
All right.
nice. Tell your mother, thank you very much. That is beautiful.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for your time. Don't forget, as I said, you can catch this on our website in about an hour or so at 2NURFM.com.